Every couple dreams of buying their ideal home, where they can put down roots and raise a family. Even though we know the perfect home doesn't really exist, we still hope for a place that will keep us safe, warm, and happy. When the Tensars bought their first home, they thought they hit the jackpot. While their house was big and beautiful, set in the idyllic surroundings of a country club, they had no idea it was about to turn into a nightmare. But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. Eric and Athena Tensar lived in Massachusetts. They were happily married with 3 young daughters, one of them a newborn baby. In April 2017, they decided it was time to buy their first home, big enough to accommodate all 5 of them. Buying a home is a big decision for any family, and the Tensars were determined to get it right. They thought they had considered everything. Little did they know that they were about to face a terrifying ordeal. The Tensars found what they thought was their dream home. The 4-bedroom house was brand new, with 3,000 square feet of living space and a beautiful big yard for their daughters to play in. It was located on the Indian Pond Estates, a residential community on the grounds of a country club in Kingston, Massachusetts. They fell in love right away and coughed up the $750,000 to purchase the home. The family was so excited to start their new life, but they would soon realize their vision of a peaceful country life couldn't have been more wrong. The area that the Tensars moved to was truly idyllic. Indian Pond Country Club was a championship golf club surrounded by richly forested conservation lands and a community of beautiful homes. Indian Pond Estates. Tucked into the hills, the 18-hole course measured almost 6,800 yards, and the Tensars were happy to have a picturesque golf course view from their new home. They pictured lounging in the yard, dining outside on warm evenings, and the girls running around all summer long. However, living next to a golf course also had its fair share of problems. As any sensible homebuyer would, Eric and Athena checked in with the developers, raising concerns about the possibility of their home being within range of flying golf balls. The developers reassured them that they didn't foresee any issues. They had had one rogue golf ball hitting the property during the build, but that had been an isolated incident. Fears assuaged, the Tensars moved in. They didn't know then that their lives were about to be turned upside down. The problems began just a month after the Tensars moved into their new home on the Indiana Pond Estates. The family had their first terrifyingly close encounter with a golf ball. Eric was unbuckling his newborn daughter from her car seat in the driveway of the house when a golf ball came flying towards them at top speed. The ball just missed the infant and landed at the dad of 3's feet. It was a shocking incident, and Eric was intensely relieved that it hadn't been worse. But that was just the beginning. The golf season in Massachusetts lasts from April to November. That's great for golfers, but not so great, it turned out, for the Tensars. It meant that for 8 months of the year, the Tensar family's home was constantly bombarded with golf balls. It might not sound like much. After all, golf balls are very small and light. However, they are rock hard and usually hit with extreme force. The Tensars were about to learn just how much damage a little golf ball could do. The Tensars spent the next few years living in fear of the constant barrage of small white balls. When it hits, it sounds like a gunshot, Athena told the Boston Globe. It's very scary, she continued. When the balls smashed through the windows, they hit with such force that glass would shatter across the room, showering down over the children's toys. Some of the collisions were so severe that the Tensars filed reports with the Kingston Police Department, fearing for their lives. They didn't know what else to do. Of course, much more worrying than the damage to their home was the danger the golf balls posed to their 3 daughters. Athena dressed the girls and their friends in bicycle helmets every time they played in the yard and surrounding neighborhood, terrified they would be hit and injured or even killed by a flying golf ball. Gone were their dreams of having a peaceful backyard in which the girls could run and play. Their vision of idyllic country life had been shattered, and they were living in a war zone. One hot summer's day, the Tensars decided to try and have fun like a regular family. They inflated the kiddie paddling pool and filled it with water from the hose. The girls pulled on their bathing costumes, ready to splash and play. No sooner was the pool filled when there was a huge splash like an explosion and water sprayed everywhere. A golf ball smashed right in the middle of the pool, just where their daughters would have been. It just wasn't safe, and they couldn't pretend that it was. In the first 4.5 years of living in their new home, Eric and Athena claimed to have collected more than 650 golf balls from around their property, many of which crashed into the house. Aside from threatening the lives of their children, the little white missiles caused a huge amount of damage to the Tensar's home, shattering a total of 26 windows and making huge dents and holes in the house, siding to the point that it needed to be replaced. It started to become too much to deal with. After a while, sick of making costly repairs only to have the same damage happen again, the family stopped repairing the countless broken windows. Instead, they were forced to cover them with thick and unsightly plastic sheeting to try and limit the damage and stop the balls from entering through the gaps. One side of their home was slowly being obliterated, and they couldn't use their yard for the majority of the year. What else could they do? Eric and Athena felt stuck. People constantly asked them why they didn't just sell their home and leave, but they knew there was no way out. The couple refused to lie and try and minimize the problem. The Tensars contacted the Indian Pond Golf Club on multiple occasions to try and alert them to the dangerous living situation they were dealing with, and collaboratively come up with a resolution. However, the club didn't offer an adequate response or show genuine concern or understanding. Eric and Athena were starting to feel hopeless. Sick and tired of trying to fight the problem by themselves, the Tensars hired an attorney named Robert Bob Galvin to take the case to court. An experienced and talented lawyer, Galvin had been practicing law for almost 30 years. After listening to the family's plight, he knew he had a case. Galvin's defense hinged on the fact that the couple wasn't warned of the dangers they were facing when they bought their home, and that the golf course hadn't made adequate adjustments to keep the family safe. Of course, Galvin and the Tensars recognized that some people might struggle to feel sympathy for them when the story broke. They had bought a $750,000 luxury home right next to a golf course. Didn't they expect that the proximity to the fairway and the inevitable errant golf balls would cause problems? But the case was so much more complicated than that. The couple hoped that people would be able to see that, like any other dedicated parents, they were just trying to keep their children safe. They thought they were buying golf course view property, and what they ended up buying was a golf course in play property. If it was apparent to anyone that this house was going to be struck as repeatedly as this one was, they would have never bought this property, Galvin told NBC News. But the public was sure to have more questions when it came to practically understanding the problem. Why hadn't the golf club anticipated the level of damage the house would incur when the course was built? And the flying golf balls weren't coming from all over the fairway. The heart of the problem centered on the golf course's 15th hole. It was from this specific area that most of the errant balls were coming, and it wasn't all by accident. The Tensars knew that golfers weren't intentionally hitting balls at their house, but they were taking an unnecessary shortcut. If a small redesign of the course was made, the problem could be solved. Galvin wanted to make the situation clear for those unfamiliar with golf. He explained that the 15th hole was designed for a straight shot down the fairway. However, the course's own description encouraged players to cut the corner over a sand trap, putting the Tensars' home at risk. This wasn't just a case of occasional bad shots. Golfers were actively attempting this risky shortcut. The couple's home was located at a sharp left curve in the course, known as a dogleg. Golfers aiming to cut the dogleg often miscalculated their shots, leading to balls striking the house. Because the home wasn't visible from the tee, players had no idea where their balls were landing, but the club knew about the issue. The Tensars attempted to find a practical solution before taking legal action. They proposed installing a net on their property and another near the tee, but the course owner refused. Due to the elevation difference, even an 80-foot net wouldn't have guaranteed protection. With their proposals rejected, the couple felt powerless. The problem had to be fixed from the golf course's side, but no action was taken. After exhausting all options, they had no choice but to sue Indian Pond Country Club, hoping legal action would bring change. The trial took place in December 2021 in Plymouth County Court, lasting 6 days. After a tense wait, the jury ruled in favor of the Tensars. Eric and Athena were overwhelmed with relief. The amount of money awarded to the couple was unprecedented. They received $100,000 for property damages and $3.5 million for emotional distress. With statutory interest and fees, the total reached $4.93 million. Unsurprisingly, Indian Pond Country Club was unhappy with the ruling. Immediately after the trial, they requested judicial intervention to alter the verdict. However, the judge refused. Determined that the decision was unfair, the club opted to appeal. Their attorney remained hopeful despite the risks and mounting legal fees. Amid the legal battle, a practical solution emerged. The golf course moved the 15th hole's tee box back, discouraging golfers from attempting a shortcut. Since the change, no golf balls had landed on the Tensar's property. The simplicity of the fix raised the question, why hadn't the club acted sooner? Galvin expressed frustration. The solution was as simple as modifying the tee box, something we asked for from the beginning. The club resisted until they had no other choice. It never should have come to this. In December 2022, a year after the verdict, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court unanimously overturned the $4.9 million judgment. The ruling cited a clear error by the trial judge, which potentially misled the jury regarding the 15th hole's operation. When the Tensars bought their dream home in 2017, they never expected it to become a battleground for flying golf balls, legal disputes, and stress. After securing a $4.9 million award, they believed their struggle had ended, until the ruling was overturned. With the legal fight ongoing, the adjustment to the 15th hole at least offered immediate relief. As the family awaits a new trial, one silver lining remains: their children can now safely play in their yard.